as we said, be able to separate wants from needs. That's secondly.
Leadership and governance.
There are people who take on the political aspect and try to water down important, significant decisions we leaders take for the good of this country.
Not forgetting parenting.
Now you're raising kids or children who are in a totally different time. You get it. Those days your mother would just give you an eye and you know this is a problem.
Hey, there are visitors.
And there are visitors
and
around.
Mom gives you this eye, you know?
Yes.
Catch more of this every Monday to Friday at 9 p.m.
Well, it's another beautiful evening. We want to thank the Almighty God for the day it has been. Here we are with the Family Hour, empowering families, one episode at a time. Adrian Austin Mukalazi is my name. Today is a Tuesday, and as usual, we discuss health. Now, we know that, a week ago, we were celebrating the International Day of Food Safety, and we also promised you that we shall dedicate the entire month talking about food safety. I mean, there is a lot that we really need to know, because at the end of the day, when we eat safe food, then diseases are minimal. Of course, today we are stormed with this headline in the Daily Monitor that school food leaves a bitter taste. But when you read this report, this was a report that was unveiled by the Ministry of Health yesterday, but when you read it, you realize that they talk about the food that is being given to students causing them non-communicable diseases. The food lacks sufficient nutrients. I mean, there is a lot that was talked about in this report. Now, today here we are to talk about the best practices for ensuring food safety. Very, very important. With us is, now because it is ladies first, I'll start with the lady. Yes. With us is Damali Above. She's a laboratory team leader, Yalelo, Uganda. And she'll tell us why she didn't carry for us some fish. Damali, you most welcome. Kindly greet our viewers.
Thank you. Good evening, fellow listeners. My name is Damali Abo. I'm the laboratory technician of Yalelo Uganda Laboratory. Yalelo Uganda is a fish farm, and we are farming tilapia, Nile tilapia. That is the species Oreochromis nilotica. We are located in Vuyikwe, in a small village called Butembe at the lake shores of Lake Victoria. We carry out cage fish farming on floating cages in the fresh waters of Lake Victoria. And I know most of you would think probably we get this fish from the landing site. No?
Exactly. Actually, later on you're going to tell us why you choose to, should I say, grow the fish yourselves? But you will actually tell us why you take the direction and why it is really very important for you to test the fish before you send it out to the market. But we have Mr. Zikanga Patrick, who is the CEO Chemiphar Uganda Limited. You're most welcome once again.
Thank you.
We started with you and we are still with you.
Thank you, Edwin, and good evening, viewers.
How is Chemiphar?
Chemiphar is fine.
Okay.
And today you are talking about my favorite subject, because if you talk of fish, it's the flagship product for Chemiphar. Okay. We actually born out of fish testing. It started way back in 1998, when actually the European Union had banned fish exports from East Africa, the EU market, because of bad fishing practices. That, of course, they were addressing the food safety part of it. So we started that lab. Of course, I was not there by then, but along the way, the originator started it purposely for that. Test the fish, make it safe for export. I emphasize by then export. But then, of course, you don't detach fish from water. Also, along the way, we have been testing really also as maybe the equally long experience in testing water and environment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So today is really an interesting panel. Well, I'll get back to Damali. You had earlier told us that you have a farm in
Buyikwe, Butembe
Butembe village.
Yes.
That is, I think, in Njeru.
Yes,
At the boundaries of Buganda and Busoga.
Exactly, yes.
Well, when we are told that you are the laboratory team leader, someone would really ask, why is it really important that you even test fish? Because we look at people who live at the lake shores. Some go, you get your one fish, prepare a meal. Why is it important for this fish to be tested?
Okay, yeah, so first and foremost, I will tell you that Yalelo, Uganda is the only fish farm that has a laboratory. Okay. And that is why some people may not see it important to test the fish. However, as a fish farm, it's very important that we do several tests, which I'm going to later bring it out in details, what exactly we do when we say we are testing the fish. Yes, so our production cycle starts right from the hatchery, because we have the breeders that lay the eggs and produce the young fish that we call the fry, that later grow into fingerlings. Then from fingerlings, later they grow into juveniles and later adult fish. So at every stage, if you do not test the fish, then you stand a chance of losing those fish. Because what we test for here, in the side of the production side, I'll first talk about the production side. We are mainly interested in testing the water quality. So when I talk about water quality as a fish farmer, I'm not talking about water that is clean like the way you see the mineral water. However, we are talking about water that is rich in oxygen, because these fish need oxygen. If they are oxygen deficient, then they stand a chance of getting stressed, and eventually we end up losing these fish. They end up dying. So we test for oxygen, then we also test for nutrients in the water that are toxic to these fish. The fish will release ammonia in the water, and the same ammonia is toxic to these fish. So if we do not test for this ammonia, it will eventually kill our fish, and as a business we are losing the fish that is the main goal for the farm. Then also we look at temperatures in the water, because these temperatures are very important. You find that for every type of fish, they have that ambient temperature that favors their growth. As for tilapia, it's usually 25 degrees and above. So when the water temperatures get low, you find that they get stressed, and once the fish gets stressed, then the immune system of that fish gets compromised, and once the immune system of the fish gets compromised, the fish ends up, that is how diseases come into the system. So as Yalelo Uganda, we try as much as possible to eradicate an outbreak of disease in our system by ensuring that the water quality is well tested and it is suitable for the fish to grow in. We also go ahead and look into what the fish eat, and that is the feed. Because what the fish eats is what later is generated into the muscle of the fish that later the consumers eat. So we test this feed right from arrival, when the feed has been brought to the farm, and we are interested in presence of molds, because these molds produce aflatoxins, which later becomes a food safety issue. When the consumer is eating fish that is having aflatoxins, you're putting your body at a risk of diseases like, for instance, cancer. So at this point, we are so much aware of this, and we are interested in ensuring that the quality of the feed is good. We also go ahead and visit these suppliers of our feed in their factories to look at the kind of raw material that they use for making the feed, because the raw material that they use for making the feed is very important for us who buy the feed. So we look at the quality of the raw material, and we look at the tests that they do on the raw material, and we repeat the same tests when this feed comes to our farm, such that we are sure that we are having good quality feed. We are also very conscious about our lake, because Lake Victoria is not only just a lake that is used for fish farming, but it's also used for other activities.
Yes.
So in the process, there is a chance of pollution in the lake. So in so doing, we are very conscious and we ensure that we test for presence of pesticides, because some industries release their wastes into the water and they may probably not be treated. Then also we test for heavy metals. Actually, we've worked with several laboratories. We've worked with Chemiphar laboratory. We've worked with the Uganda National Bureau of Standards to ensure that we check for heavy metals, we check for pesticide residues in the lake, because at the end of the day, these fish are going to consume all these elements that later become a problem to the fish.
Okay. Yeah. Wow, this is really a very detailed process, I can see. So it is not about what we find in the outlet. It is really a lot of background work that has been done. But we are looking at the best practices to ensure food safety. Now, Mr. Zikanga, as Chemiphar Uganda, because we want to look at the entire cycle. The last time you were here, you talked about the cycle from the garden, if we all from the lake, like Yalelo,
to the plate.
To the plate.
Yes.
But let us look at now basically that what are some of the practices? Like she has taken us through some of the things they do that before the final consumer buys this fish, it has really gone through a number of tests, and so what they bring on the market is what has been really verified and certified to be consumer reliable. Yes. What about the other products, especially those that you look out for as Chemiphar? What are some of the practices that can be ensured by the growers out there?
Yeah, as you can see, probably here very well elaborated our practices, best practice across the value chain. Can see it starts from the input, which actually could be water, could be soil, could be anything, feeds, which as I explained 2 weeks ago when we were during the talk show here, you notice that probably some of the things may not be things you can remove once they have entered the food chain. Like heavy metals, like she mentioned, you can't remove them. Could be germs, maybe you have something you can do, but before they also give you diseases. So normally it's like, this is what we would wish to have, but as I said, you cannot do it. It must be really a concerted effort, very many stakeholders. Okay. As you can see, she may be actually she's doing quite a lot in the fish value chain. Yes. But definitely she's not the one responsible for what goes to the environment. Someone else should be checking. He's not the one responsible for who puts feeds on the market. Someone should also be checking. So for us, why we say it's a combination of testing, we are experts in testing, but also we are advocates for creating awareness about food safety. People must understand, like she's explaining, exactly what could be wrong. Okay, what she seems to be talking about is, of course, is one side of it, because you are looking at now, she's farming fish in fresh water in Lake Victoria. Naturally, this is originally we are looking at the capture method fish from Lake Victoria, from rivers. But as you see, there is a lot of farming now coming up in fish ponds. Yes. So requirements also go higher. For instance, if you look at the fish we test for exports, the markets there have different requirements as well. Here, yes, you may test fish for, first of all, we test fish for freshness, which many people probably don't care so much. I know the best practice is to check the gills and what, but it's not satisfactory because there must be a measures, a standard to know that this is beyond this, it's not fresh. That's we check some compound called TVBN, which actually total volatile basis nitrogen. For the EU, for instance, one example for the EU market, at the moment, if it's more than 20 milligram per kilogram, that's not a good fish. It's not fresh. So, but then you see the handlers, like Yarero, for instance, if it gets fish and you have to export it, it reaches Europe when it still has that level of TBVN. It means that's also best practice, because they will check if it is not there. If it is higher, it means the handlers are also concerned. And it may not be Yarero, it could even be a transporter or someone else. So you also check contaminants, as he said, which could be usually like heavy metals, for instance. It could be pesticide residues. And as you know, they are very linked also to the health of the population. Some of them you have heard people talk of things causing cancer, carcinogens. There could be some of them. Other things could be checking for hygiene. These are mainly microorganisms, or you check for pathogens which can cause disease, which maybe you have heard people eat fish and get cholera, typhoid. Those are disease-causing organisms. Those are people, they check those ones as well. So, but when you come to what we call aquaculture now, what people are growing outside, it becomes more complex, because I see now, of course, you have to start looking for things like steroids, which you have not been looking for, antibiotic residues, veterinary drugs, anything that can be coming from the environment to that point likely has potential to cause harm to the person who eats fish. Over it, of course, you hear also there is a threat for plastics. Of course, they end up concentrating as microplastics in those aquatic lives. So definitely, if the awareness could touch all those stakeholders, or you have someone, maybe a group working together across the value chain, making sure every step is taken like she's explaining, then you are beginning to talk of best practice.
Okay.
Because most of the things, a consumer will never see them. If you have contamination, there is no way a consumer can say, I have mercury here, I have red here. No, he doesn't know. And this kills you over a long time. If it is a fish that has gone bad, maybe it smells bad, you could know. But that's one of the few things you can check. So best practice really means that everybody really, as I said before, it's a culture you have to live with. It's not a destination, it's really a journey for all of us. And you keep watching really who is falling off. If that's our wish, that's ideal now. But we are starting, I'm sure with people like Family TV and other media, you can help us actually spread the gospel. But for us, that's actually what we are saying. And we have been doing it. Good enough, it's not what we claim, but you also have people like Yarero now, who actually, on the hands-on, you can see them and they have products on the market. Before, when I was talking of a lab testing, I didn't have a lab here, I didn't have any product, but at least on the market you can see Yarero somewhere. When you want fish. Okay.
Well, thank you so much. Now, there's something you talked about. You talked about the handlers.
Yes.
And now, in line with Damali, and I would like you to take us through some of the practices the handlers can ensure to see that the product you give them reaches the market and reaches the final consumer when it is still in its safe place.
Okay. So first, to elaborate more on food safety, I would say in a general perspective, safe food is food that is free from any form of pathogenic bacteria. And pathogenic bacteria, these are bacteria that can cause an illness to the consumer. So when it comes to food handling, we are very conscious to ensure that we are not cross-contaminating the food from the food handler to the food. Because fish, for example, in its nature, the muscle is very sterile. Much as you see it living in dirty waters that you may call dirty, but the muscle itself is very sterile. However, when this fish is harvested and now brought to the processing hall, you find that the food handler can easily cross-contaminate the food and it ceases to be safe for consumption. So in this situation, Yalelo Uganda has a food safety management system. We have a committee that is in charge of ensuring good hygiene practices and ensuring that these good hygiene practices are implemented by the food handlers. We start by training the food handlers on what we want as good hygiene practices, and these involve putting on the right protective gear. It's not only protecting your body, but it's protecting you from direct contact with the food.
How does that look like, that protective gear?
Yeah, so like for the hair, when I'm in the processing plant, I will not have my hair open. I will have to cover it with a hair net. For the men, you're not supposed to have beards.
Like me, so I don't qualify.
So for you don't qualify. Yeah, so in this situation, you'll have to trim your beards, and if you can't trim your beards, technology has gone ahead to also have beard masks. Then also we have the face mask that covers the nose, because by default our nostrils have staphylococcus in it, and staphylococcus is one of the pathogenic bacteria. So if you don't cover your nose and probably later you sneeze and a drop of flu goes onto the food, already that is a point of contamination. So we ensure that the food handler is well dressed with a face mask, with a beard mask where need be, and the hair. We do not allow jewelry like I have right now in the food processing hall, because once it may drop into the food and later to the consumer, that is already unappealing. It now becomes a quality non-conformity. So we ensure that ladies do not put on their jewelry. Then also, as Yalelo, this may not be practiced by other food handlers, but in Yalelo, all the people that handle the fish after harvest have to take a shower in the morning from the farm. Because we are not sure whether the person showered before coming, but this is all to ensure hygiene. Then after that, we give you the work clothes, which are different from what you came with, because along the way with our dusty roads, your clothes may be having dust, and already in dust there is a big population of microorganisms that can later go to our fish and contaminate the food. So we have the work clothes that you put on, and also the gumboots. So when the person is well dressed, already we are protecting this person from cross-contaminating the feed, then the food. Then we also have a nurse that will check each and every person before entering the food processing hall. We check out for your nails. You have well-trimmed nails, because this is a recommendation. Our nails also have germs.
What about a lady who has just put on her
extensions?
Yes.
Yeah, now a lady with
nails.
extensions cannot work in a food processing.
Well, let's take a short commercial break. When we return, we are going to start from there. We are looking at the best practices for ensuring food safety. Stick with us.
This is Church of Uganda Family TV, enriching lives.
welcome back from the break. Wow, there is a lot of interesting things that you might have missed while you were taking, you were sipping your glass of water. We were talking about the best practices for the handlers, because I believe most of the contamination happens with the handlers. And before the break, Damali had told us about how the handlers, I mean those who sell your little fish dress up, but then you look at that fish person, we used to call them fishmongers, that person who sells fish or who supplies to you the fish. How are they dressed? How do they maintain some of these practices? Because I believe as a consumer, it is your responsibility as well to request them to present in a way that makes you feel comfortable with the product they are delivering to you. Well, Damali, I cut you short because we had to go for the break. But now that we are back, kindly complete for us some of those measures for the handlers.
Okay, so the other measures for the handlers, we also do medical checkup for these handlers, because you need to be aware of someone's health status, because this is a food handler, and you know some of these diseases with the kind of pathogens that cause them can be crossed over to the fish. So usually we bring in a team of experts from the medical field that usually check the food handlers to ensure that their health is okay. Then also on a daily basis, we check out for whether someone has flu or cough, because this is also not good for a food handler. And in such a situation, when somebody has flu or cough, the person is not necessarily stopped from working, but they will give you work that does not put you in direct contact with the food until when you've recovered.
Okay.
Yeah. Then also we train these people, because these practices are not easy that someone will implement it overnight, but we keep doing routine trainings to ensure that people know the right way, the good hygiene practices and the good manufacturing practices to avoid cross-contamination of our food.
Helping our viewer out there who might not be in position to visit your outlet, but they are fans of fish. Are there things that they can look out for as before they buy this fish from wherever they, because we have markets like Busega, Kalere, where, I mean, those markets that are known for fish. So are there things that you can at least advise them to look out for before they buy fish from anyone?
Yes, for instance, if you're in those other markets other than our stores as Yalelo, you need to look out for the organoleptic appearance of the fish. When I talk of organoleptic appearance, we are looking at, you look at the fish itself, check for freshness of the fish. And when
they used to tell us that you just put your finger there, and then when it delays to come back, then that is contaminated. I mean, that is...
No, not contaminated, but the fish has started getting spoiled.
Oh.
Yeah, so that is very true. Then also the gills should be bright red. So when you're seeing a change in the color from the bright red, that one is already a sign to show you that this fish is already in the process of deterioration in quality and getting spoiled. Then also you look at the eyes should be bright. So when you see eyes that are not bright, that is already an indicator. So in the open market, of course, you're not going to know whether the food handler was clean or dressed in proper personal protective equipment that will not contaminate the fish, but you just look out for appearance of the product that you're going to buy.
Okay.
Yeah, and also of course this is something that may not apply to the market out there. Ideally, when fish is out of the water, it should be maintained under the cold chain, should be maintained at temperatures below 4 degrees while out of the water. But this applies to Yalelo, because for us in our processing hall, the temperatures, the environment has low temperatures that favor the fish. Then also the fish is placed in ice. It is distributed in ice, transported in ice, and even in our stores, it is kept in ice such that we are able to achieve the 4 degrees. At below 4 degrees, you're inactivating these surface microorganisms that came with the fish from the water such that they cannot multiply. So ideally, you're stopping multiplication of bacteria. However, in those open markets like Busega, this is difficult to achieve because most of the time the fish is put out there under the sun.
On tables.
On tables, and the temperatures are quite high. So if you're interested in buying such fish, then having assessed the organoleptic appearance of the fish, you need to take it home and immediately cook it because you cannot keep it any longer. Yes.
Okay.
But if you bought fish from Yalelo under cold storage, even when you take it home, you can still put it in your fridge and maintain the cold chain if you're not interested in cooking it there and then, and still the following day the fish will still be fresh for consumption.
I have this fish. I don't have a fridge at home. How long can it stay before I prepare it if I bought it from maybe your stores?
Okay, in our stores, at least the fish can stay for 8 hours.
8 hours?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
I think ideally, it should be really all of us, if we knew really the dangers of eating bad fish or
because
unsafe fish.
That was my next
we
question.
could also be looking at it the way we look at milk, for instance. Unfortunately, for milk, quickly it goes bad and you can know. Fish maybe it's a little bit, takes a little longer. People don't really see that it's getting bad. But ideally, we should be having organized markets where you preserve fresh fish, maybe in good temperatures. It can't be just, because I see in some countries you find like a freezer for the whole market. People pay little money for it. You keep your fish there. But that is now fresh fish. But now we have another problem. When you have fish, maybe you didn't sell, you still dry it. It's still not safe. You can still get mycotoxins, you can get these metals will never be roasted and they become inactive, they are there. We still have something, full safety issues, even with dry fish. Fresh fish is easy because that one goes bad and you can see. But what of then the dry fish? So definitely we should be thinking of really making fish safe by actually providing some the awareness first of all, but to some extent we also need to start thinking about how we can organize these markets from open air markets to at least a fish market. Really, like if you have a freezer somewhere for common freezer for every, it can't be a freezed room where everybody keeps his fish, and you want to buy, you go and buy from him.
Okay. Which
is not really the case here. Everything here, most of the fish is open air market.
It's perceived as luxury.
Yes. So there are a lot of things, but it comes with awareness. Many people don't, whatever we are talking here sometimes look like rocket science. You see, I've been eating my fish all this time in Karangara. All my children, myself, I'm 100 years. I've never died. But you don't know actually, you may be having some, really some, you have accumulated some maybe dangerous toxins over time. You see someone getting cancer, the whole family is, and you wonder where it came from. It could be starting like that and nobody knows. But this is now fish, but when you look at other food value chains,
exactly,
the activities may be slightly differ, but really when you look at it at every stage, whether it's production, for instance, if I look at vegetables and fruits, still at the very beginning, you are thinking of your soil first of all.
Yeah.
You want to maximize the yield. Also, some soil contaminants are there. You are talking of water for irrigation, for instance, for those who irrigate. You are talking of herbicides, even seeds, by the way, as an input, the right seeds. Then you are talking of those pesticides you put there. You harvest, then the handling starts again. The temperature matters. It may not be as low as the one of fish, but it also matters. The stores where you keep, the hygiene matters as well. Even when you bring them up to the market, you still have the issues you have to handle at every stage. They may vary a little bit, but it's the general principle. You must look at what you, at every stage. If you really want to maintain the good levels of food safety, you don't have to wait at the end. Just one good example, which is maybe we are using too, is kasori. Everybody looks at kasori, it's dry. You don't see any problem, or beans. This is the problem you are seeing in the, now even this story you are talking about. So when you buy, certainly someone could even have tested even along the way. Maybe they are free of aflatoxins. But the store in school, who is checking it? The temperature maybe is not right, and then they start developing those aflatoxins again. Or kaunga itself, it can also get contaminated. So definitely it's not really like, it's a journey. It's not really like you are saying, okay, now I'm going to test, I'm okay. You have to observe the other issues, the other conditions as well. Definitely you may not go for like, need strict hygiene for kasori, no. It may not be like fish. But you also have something you must do to make sure those aflatoxin contaminants are not coming. You check. Also very important thing you brought here, we tend to emphasize the quality, the safety. We are forgetting the quality as well. Because you may find that probably you are eating food. You have enough food in terms of quantity, but how much nutrients are in that food? These are not pressed out. She's already doing so much as Yarero to make sure it is safe. But maybe in the future, when the next thing she might have to look at the nutrients, what is in this fish. But for her now, that one at least we can say, this is like maybe 8 out of 10 steps. The other 2 steps others can do. So that's the thing. But in terms of safety, don't look at, when you look at, here all those value chain activities she's talking about. Look at any other food, especially fresh food. You may go through the same, more or less.
I was about to ask you, and now let me ask you. You talked about the fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
The doctors, the nutritionists have really encouraged people to take fruits and vegetables. The Nutrition Society of Uganda was carrying out even a challenge of fruits and vegetables. But I mean, what are some of the things that someone buying these fruits can look out for to ensure the safety of the fruit they're taking or the vegetables? Because I look at our neighbor here, Nakasero Market. If you passed there around this time, you'll find the place is extremely busy. Farmers are bringing in their fruits, farmers are bringing in their vegetables. But what are some of the things that people can look out for as they are purchasing those products?
Unfortunately, it's maybe very difficult for another person to easily see a lot of things. You can see a few things. For instance, I could look at maybe like tomatoes, for instance. You have found someone has harvested and has brought tomatoes. It's supposed to have harvested maybe after several days of non-spraying. But then you find that they are all full of whitish things. It means definitely either he harvested immediately after spraying, or I hear it's possible deliberately people put more herbicides on it to make whatever chemicals on it to make it stay longer on the shelf. That could be one of the easiest thing to see. But generally speaking, it could be like you also have to go to up to farm level, creating awareness. If there was a way really working with the extension services of especially Ministry of Agriculture, there are certain things you should be looking at farm level. Some of them could be like those waivers which come in food. Some could be, maybe you can detect this food is bad by the way the leaves look. Or those are things, there are special agronomists who can help them to do that. But at the market level, that's why for me I insist, we need to do a lot of things down the value chain, a lot of activities, more than waiting for the final product. Because you can't reverse it, you can't change anything. At the market level, definitely we have that issue. But then, of course, if there was anybody who can help, we could be also doing surveys. Maybe someone tests, could be UNBS, could be anybody, could be maybe partnership. If we have anybody to partner with, we can go and do a little surveys in these markets and see exactly whether what we are afraid of, is it really present or not present. That could also be one way of looking at, because I think we also have to agree that whoever, there are people who do it deliberately, certain things deliberately. Those can be there in anything, in any value chain. But there are many people, of course, who find they have all those problems, but they are not aware of them, and they didn't even know how they came in. So creating awareness of those problems and then educating people about the consequences could help them actually move a step in observing those hygienes. There's little motivation for them to do it. I'll give you one example. When some years back, we had this banana weave, not the weave, but it's actually the bananas will just get yellow and fall off and dry up. But there was farm hygiene where people were telling, if you use a finger to cut this, make sure you don't use it for another. There are so many things they were doing. If you find one banana plant which is yellowing now, cut it and go and burn something. So people actually, with time, we find actually that banana disease is more or less now has gone off completely, especially in banana producing areas. Those are things you can do without even testing. You don't need to know it, but you can prevent it by isolating the sick ones. Yeah, so I think there are many things we can do beyond really all these scientific tools, laboratory, which also can be done by someone through education. That's why, for me, I've been remembering to explain that one. Whatever we are doing, we also need cooperation from. We need to create awareness. The people actually who, especially down there. One of the reasons why we should do that, if you want, for instance, to export, you have a huge quantity, high value. It's little. If you want to test to know something, it's little money compared to the volumes you have. But a farmer who has like a ready chili in the farm, he has harvested 2 kilos. He can't afford the test. Or a pond, smaller pond with maybe a few, maybe hundreds of fish. He may not afford to test everything like Yarero can do. But at least, if he is educated, he will reduce the problems by without testing. So by the time someone buys to go and sell, maybe it's like 50% of the problems have been solved. Then he's dealing with another 50%.
Okay. I was in some platform today morning, and there was a photo that was posted on this platform. Now this photo, someone was drying cassava from the roof. So people are saying, at least this one is better than people who dry their cassava from the tarmac, or people who dry their cassava from bare soil. So what is your say about that? Is that one better? Is the roof option better than the soil and the tarmac?
Well, definitely for me, from my point of view, if I can confirm it is safe, I need to know, did I have any evidence that it's safe? But if I look at it like a Ugandan who has lived in the same environment, I'll tell you frankly, yes, because on the roof, definitely on the soil, you have a lot of things coming from the soil, moisture, germs, coming. Because I know even in the olden days when we were young, how did we preserve food? We just get the kasori, which you want for seeds, put it somewhere in the fireplace, and it's drying there. Definitely it will be preserved. Or you make this granary, but it's not touching the ground, it's hanging somewhere, and you put your millet. Those are normal natural things they are preserving their food with. But definitely I would imagine someone drying muhogo on tarmac with all this bitumen and shining. There's a lot that's coming to that muhogo compared to the one, unless you are saying if he has an asbestos roof. But if the normal roof like this, yes, I say, let's say I'm taking a risk. I'm looking at the road, I'm looking at your bare ground, I will go for the roof myself. But for me, that's not really scientific according to me. That is their normal natural science, they know how to preserve it. Yeah, but otherwise, the best way would be follow all the rules. If there is a reason, really maybe finally you need to test, you can test and see what is in that cassava. If you can't really, but follow the rules first. Dry it very well, don't put it on the tarmac as you said. Yeah, because you could also dry it. I've seen people also dry things on platforms. Even me, coffee, you see people now no longer do it.
Exactly.
Yes. Wow. That reduces the amount of contaminants because you are now really doing what is coming from that environment. You don't know because it's on the ground and everything is coming just through the coffee, the cassava.
Okay. We've looked at the production, we've looked at the handlers, but now we are looking at this last person in the chain, who is the consumer. It is possible that you have gone, Damali, you've taken all these steps, you've managed to achieve your goal up to the market. I buy my product from your store, and then on the way, because of the way I handle it, or because of the way I treat it, it gets spoiled and it causes me issues. The next day I have food poisoning, and then I'll say, Yalero, you guys, I bought fish from you and you see what happened. I mean, what are some of the things that now the consumer can at least observe as they're taking this food? Because you've really put in a lot of resources, a lot of time to see that you maintain the quality and the hygiene. What about the consumer?
Okay, yeah. So here, the consumer, first of all, should be aware of the kind of product they are buying. For instance, fish is a product which should be maintained under cold storage. Unlike a soda, which you can leave it at room temperature. So when you have that at the back of your mind, it's enough for you to already know what to do when you buy the fish. You either cook the fish, and when you've cooked it, you've now changed, you've added value to that fish. So it is not going to spoil as fast as when you've not yet cooked it. Or if you're not able to cook it, then we shall say you need to keep it under cold storage. The cold storage can be a refrigerator, it can be a freezer, depending on how you want it. However, just to give people awareness that fish is a high protein food, and proteins deteriorate very fast. So you do not expect fresh fish to stay for a long time if not added value to. However, if you add value to it, when I talk of value addition, you're now changing it to another form. Either you're grilling it, you're smoking it, you're salting it. Now there you're adding value. So you need to add value to it to prolong its shelf life if you're not going to consume it there and then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before I leave you, kindly give us your parting shots so that when we go to Mr. Zikanga, we shall just wind up.
Okay. Yeah, so me to the viewers out there, I will encourage you to eat yalelo fish, because yalelo fish is produced under good manufacturing and hygiene practices, right from the production stage up to the post-harvest chain until it reaches our shops. Of course, fish is a rich protein food, and it's also rich in omega-3 fatty acids, and it's a low-fat food. So this is very good for our health, it's very good for our bodies. Unlike the red meat, of late the language in nutrition is changing. We should drop eating red meat and eat the white meat. So I encourage Ugandans to at least eat fish 2 times a week, if you cannot afford eating it every day. But even when you eat it every day, there is no harm to the fish. And for Yalelo, we are here to produce you with the freshest fish, as just like the name of our farm, Yalelo. Yalelo means today, and what is for today is what is fresh. And this is fish that is grown from our own lake. So you should eat it with a lot of confidence, because it is not Chinese fish, it is not manufactured. However, it is farmed and fed with organic food, and it also feeds on the algae in the lake, which is natural. So this fish is also rich in vitamins, minerals, calcium. So I encourage all viewers out there to eat yalelo fish each and every day.
Hope when it is all not sold, you take it back and bring another.
No, we definitely sell it actually.
Mr. Zikanga.
I think staying on the fish story, I believe we are known for fish worldwide, especially tilapia. So much as we are known for producing fish, high quantities of fish, let's now focus on really producing safe fish. Because producing too much of something that is not safe, meaning actually you are producing more poison. So that, and I wish anybody listening to us, especially policymakers, now that we are talking about best practices, at least if you have been listening to Damari here, it should be really we start watching what can we do in other value chains, other food chains. Because it's not only fish that really poses safety issues to us, but even any other food can.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much, Damali. Thank you so much, Mr. Zikanga, and thank you so much for watching. To you, our viewer, we are grateful and glad that you tuned in. I believe that you have really got a thing or two out of this discussion, and we want to appreciate these people who have given in their time to really come and emphasize the importance of you feeding on safe food. Edwin Osin Mkalazi is my name. I've worked with Fiona Jal, Muhumuza, and very many other people out there doing a lot of things to see that you have this image, or wherever you're watching us from. We are grateful, and from the entire team, it's a good night.
Family Hour, empowering families one episode at a time. Together, we build strong, healthy, and thriving families with our daily dose of inspiration and expert insights on topics that